I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're listening to Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
On today's episode, we have our NFL Week 13 preview. It was a
Week 13 recap.
recap, correct?
We
Our Week
already did the
13
preview.
recap,
That episode was last week.
which of course involved many of upsets.
Mm-hmm.
Another sigh for the Vikings.
Yeah.
But let's just jump right into it. So first up, we have the Colts, who went to Houston to take on the Texans, and of course, pretty well dominated. Cal and I both had the Colts. I picked them as my lock last week, and it was just pretty obvious to see from the beginning and before the game even started.
The Colts went back to giving the ball to Jonathan Taylor, and that worked pretty well for him. Tyrod Taylor got hurt. Run DM3 came in and could not save them. Divisional game, you never know what'll happen, but that was the more likely outcome. Indy should have, it's how they should have handled it.
The Tyrod prophecy has been shaky, to say the least.
This year it has. It hasn't worked out.
But
well.
exactly, I mean, Jonathan Taylor just took that game over like he has many games before. 148 yards, I want to say, and 1 or 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
Just continuing his absolutely dominant streak. Give that man the MVP
Boy,
this year.
it's hard not to.
It's so
If he keeps it up,
it's so lean towards quarterback, but if you're really looking at the most valuable player for his team, it's Jonathan Taylor 10 out of 10 times.
if he's not on that team, there's at least maybe 3 or 4 games they've lost.
Oh,
without him.
Easily. Yep. So, next up we have, screw head slap of the week. Head slap of the year for the Vikings.
Of the year!
The Vikings go to Detroit and lose to the winless Lions, moving them from 0-10-1 to 1-10-1, because, of course, didn't completely shatter the Vikings' playoff chances, but there's a big old crack in them now, to say
quite
the
the gut
least.
punch to him.
Yeah, they are barely holding on. And I'm not going to sit here and act like the Lions played awfully, because, to be honest, throughout most of the year, most games in the year, and through this game especially, the Lions played pretty damn well. I mean,
they played all right. Yeah,
they showed a stat that the last 5 games, or they showed a stat during that game that the last 5 games, the Lions had only allowed 15 points per game on defense, and their offense had actually been able to produce a little bit of points. So it's not even like, I'm not even mad because we lost to the Lions, who was such a bad record, because the Lions are a much better team than their records show. I'm just mad at the way we lost, because when you have Alexander Madison, our backup running back, getting almost 100 yards rushing, you have a receiver with over 180 yards receiving, and you have your quarterback throwing 340 yards, you just should not lose a game. I think
you should have had 30 points. I mean, you tell me those stats, I'm guessing you have 30 points.
I think we only scored like 20 points, 21, something like that. I can't remember exactly.
It wasn't, for those stats, it should have been much higher.
Exactly. It should have been a blowout with those kind of stats, but then we drop that amount of points is all. We allow multiple touchdowns to the Lions' offense, multiple passing touchdowns, which is the saddest point. If you look at their receiving core, their running backs didn't even do a ton. Jamal Williams was averaging like 5 yards
and Jamal had his first career fumble, too.
And Jamal had his first career fumble.
After he broke the record for most carries without a fumble, he fumbled on the next one.
Exactly.
Literally, the record was 604. He had carry 605. Fumbled.
That's funny.
Like, how? Wow.
But that totally put the game in our control. We owned the game from there. And then we just, last play of the game, let that touchdown happen. Many coaching mishaps, to say the least, but the biggest one, of course, being playing zone towards the back of the end zone when they only need 12 yards.
It seemed like you were playing like a Hail Mary prevent defense, and they only needed, 20 yards to the end zone. So you didn't need the Hail Mary defense.
They were on R12 with 1 play left, and we were playing with a corner 5 to 6 yards deep and a safety 7 to 8 yards deep in the end zone, giving Amon-Ra St. Brown the easiest curling catch I might have ever seen.
Yeah, all he did was step into the goal line and stop.
I don't know if that's a Zimmer thing, if that's a defensive scheme thing, or if that's a player thing that they were deeper than they were supposed to be. But something obviously went wrong on that last play because he should not have been that deep in the end zone.
It seemed like he was expecting a longer developing play.
But why would you?
Right, but why should you? I mean, I'm not saying, I'm just guessing off of what I saw, what he could have been thinking, and that's the one thing I could think.
I have been supporting the Lions all year. I've been saying I want them to get this win, so of course it is highly annoying that they decide to finally get the win against the Vikings and really screw over our playoff chances.
The Lions are taking that 7 wild card spot. We looked at it. They are not eliminated. Houston's actually the first team eliminated. Detroit is still mathematically alive at 1-10-1. And they're not losing now.
You know,
now MCDC's on that roll. They're not losing now.
If the Vikings aren't going to get it, I hope the Lions do, might as well. But yeah, what I was saying is it's a little annoying it happened against my team, but once the dust settles, congratulations to the Lions. I am, in a way, happy to see them get a win, so that's nice at least. Next up, we got the Giants who went to Miami to take on the Dolphins, and the Dolphins pick up what I would call an impressive win.
Mm-hmm.
Now, leaving that Giants offense only to 9 isn't overly impressive because that's not a very good offense.
And Glennon was playing.
But what I'm really impressed by is scoring 20 on that pretty stellar defense, especially considering they by no means have an overly explosive offense. So I really like seeing that from the Dolphins. I get a little more trust in Tua every week. I still have a lot of questions about him. I don't know his long-term availability, or long-term performance, I should say. But I will say, I like him a little more every week.
I don't know, these last few weeks, I'm saying fins up. Because, wow, he's looking like the guy. Like, he's finally like, you know what? We don't have all these other quarterbacks finally. No Fitzmagic, no Deshaun Watson, no, well, I guess Brisket's still down there. But they obviously were like, they cut him off at halftime in that one game, and Dolphins haven't looked back. In fact, they haven't lost since that point. Since they made that halftime switch, they've won every game and are now, I believe, just outside of the playoffs and could be the first team to go 1-7 to end up making the playoffs. If there's a path for them, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but they are in the contention.
I don't know what exactly happened with that team, but you're right. Something in them flipped. I don't know if it was Tua finally getting some confidence or if it was that defense returning to the form that they were in last year. But
I'll tell you what it was. It was Robert Hunt. That offensive line touchdown, I just sparked an excitement in that team that hasn't gone away. Since that point, I mean, that does correlate with the Tua switch at halftime. But maybe those two events just created a supernova.
That's a good point. I mean, that is kind of when it flipped.
It is.
It was some sort of weird victim of circumstance that just changed the morale as that team as a whole. But yeah, congratulations to the Dolphins.
Robert Hunt really motivated Tua that day. He was just like, damn, my lineman's going out there with those kind of ball skills.
scoring more touchdowns.
I got to step it up. Yeah. I got to step it up, he said, and he has.
No, it was an impressive win.
I'm starting to think
Tua's
the guy in Miami.
I still need a few more wins, at least 1 or 2 playoff appearances in games. But yeah, my confidence in him is growing. Next up, we had Chargers at Bengals, and that was a weird game. Cal and I are both really excited for this game. And it was actually overall a pretty exciting game. It was just weird how it was exciting. The Chargers jumped out into an early 24-0 lead pretty quickly, like within the first quarter. Mm-hmm. And then throughout the second and third quarter, the Bengals totally started rumbling back, and it went from 24-0 to at one point it was Chargers 24, Bengals 22. So it was a super close game. But then they just totally lost in the fourth quarter again.
Since he was driving to go ahead, and Mixon fumbled, and L.A. picked up the fumble and took it back.
Total momentum change.
It shut down the rest of Cincinnati's momentum, and they were never able to regain it.
Yeah, so then it went from 24-22 to the ending score being
like 41 to 28. I think they got one more score.
I don't even know if they did. I think
it might have been 41-22. Yeah, they might shut them out after that. But
it'll be on screen.
Yeah, after that fumble from Mixon, it's just like power shut down on them.
Totally. Which, of course,
morale killer.
Of course, those morale killers happen. Those momentum swings are part of football. Mm-hmm. But the big part of football is controlling those momentum swings and being able to take that blow and continue going. I was pretty high on the Bengals a few weeks ago, but every week it's like the opposite of Tua.
It's so
Tua
funny how
goes
the
up and the
NFL
Bengals
changes,
go
yeah.
down a little week.
A few weeks ago, the Bengals were the number 1 seed, and the Patriots were playing for next year. Now the Bengals are the 7th seed, and New England's going to the Super Bowl. This was like 4 weeks ago. So
No, they still have more than enough time to turn it around. They're a very young team, but they definitely got to work on handling blows because if they get behind at all,
it
they
seems
just
like they
cannot
kind
come
of
back
get
from
a little bit shell shocked.
which is a big thing that you'd see from a young team. So I think that will change throughout the rest of the season, especially as years go on. But next up, we have a divisional matchup with the Ravens going to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers, and the Steelers pulling off. I know it's a divisional game, but I'd say it's still a pretty big upset and a total thriller. The Ravens had the chance to tie the game at the end, but instead went for 2, and then Lamar just pretty well missed Mark Andrew, I'd say. It was a catchable ball, but I'd say it was
wasn't a great throw. Andrews probably should have caught it, but Lamar also probably could have put it better on him.
Lamar, again, not as bad as last week by any means with 4 picks, but again, not a great game. And I think it's finally happening. I've been talking about it for a while where those kind of running quarterbacks get figured out a little bit, and teams have just been forcing him to throw other than a few big runs here and there. And unless he randomly shows up to play, example against the Vikings when he finally decided to learn how to throw a football, but usually it backfires on him and he can't get good throws off. So good win by the Steelers there. Impressive.
It's pretty bold.
turnaround.
I want to say it's pretty bold to go for 2 there. I don't know. You just don't see that very often where teams go for the win like that. Harbaugh said it was because their cornerbacks were all injured, that they weren't going to have enough cornerbacks to field on defense. I mean, I imagine there's somebody you'd have to put back there.
Well, yeah, but
I mean,
just he doesn't have that trust to send it
right,
into
yeah,
overtime.
yeah. He's probably putting a special teamer, someone who's not even probably in the defensive meetings, but it's labeled a cornerback. Those kind of guys, like Marcus Sherrill's one that comes immediately to mind. Labeled a cornerback, but I don't know if he ever actually played in coverage.
I don't know.
Yeah,
unless it was like a situation where it was very dire.
And the play that they did for the 2-point conversion, nice play. I actually really liked the play design. A little tight end. I think it was a release in flat. I think he faked the block. And
I think if Lamar puts that yard or 2 more inside and that's a catchable ball, an easily catchable ball, that's definitely a conversion.
And that was probably the best 2-point play that I saw on Sunday. There was a number of teams that went for 2, and I gotta say, we were gonna say the head slap of the year.
You mean there was a team that numerous times went for 2 and didn't convert any of them?
There was more than just the one. Yeah.
Vikings had 3 2-point conversion attempts. I think
every one. This is my head slap of the week here. 2-point conversion plays. Why do coaches not have better plays drawn out for 2-point conversions? I figured with the moving of the extra point back that it was going to be a lot more common for teams to go for 2, or at least have more, play ammunition or plays to go for 2. And it seems like they don't. Like they just, I don't know, get frazzled and we're like, oh man, we got to get this. I also noticed that it almost seems to benefit teams when you get the false start and you're doing it from the 7 instead of the 2, because you got more field to work with there.
Open up your play.
It almost works better to be from the 7 than the 2.
I think when they're at the 2, they kind of get that philosophy in their head of goal line, run the football. But on a 2-point, when you have 3 or 4 downs to run the football on the goal line, just keep pounding because eventually it's going to break through. But when you only got 1 chance, teams are ready for that, and you usually don't get it on that first try. I thought we'd see a lot more trick plays, like you said, kind of, with opening up the playbook, because, like the Philly special happened on the goal line.
Right, yeah, more
stuff like that. But
you can get a lot of those. You can get halfback passes out there,
exactly.
You can get a wide receiver screen out there. I don't know.
We've just seen none of that.
I mean, I think they're perfect. If you have a scrambling, not even a mobile quarterback, but just someone who can move a little bit, you do a play action rollout, fullback flat. I mean, I don't know how that doesn't hit every time. You either get the fullback in the flat, or you get a quarterback just running in.
Especially with how much they pack the center.
Right, that's you got guys attacking the middle, they'll attack the running back. So if you got a linebacker watching the fullback, he'll either trail the fullback, leaving a spot open over here for the rollout, or he'll blitz you, leaving the fullback wide open in the corner. I don't know. I do it every time in Madden. Like,
and we all know
90% of the time.
Madden is exactly real.
It is. You know, most of these offensive coordinators, all these young guys, they all grew up playing Madden. So of course we all have Madden playbooks now.
No, but overall it was an impressive win by the Steelers. It was good on them.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have another divisional matchup with the 49ers, who went to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. And again, in what I'd say another divisional upset, the Seahawks pull off a win in their home stadium. It was a pretty close game all the way through. I think the Seahawks won by about a touchdown. But overall, the Niners just didn't look that good. George Kittle was pretty much single-handedly carrying that offense with Debo out. So if they can only...
Kittle's just a freak
If they only get to rely on one player at a time in that offense, that's just not going to work as the games go on. And I mean, they relied on Debo so much and he got hurt and somebody else stepped up, but then they only dropped 23 points and lost the game. The Seahawks finally showed back up on their offense side of the ball. Their defense, again, outside of Kittle, was pretty able to shut down almost everybody else on that offense. So it was a stellar showing overall by the Seahawks, something that I haven't seen all season.
Russ looked a lot better.
Definitely.
He dropped a couple passes into Lockett, especially that one over, I don't know if you saw it, over the top. And
that was pretty. I saw that one.
It was like, oh man, that looked like the fingers looking good. Yeah.
There was
he was able to drop that in.
I will also note that there was a few pretty bad passes that he missed, including a big touchdown to DK Metcalf that he overthrew. But of course, that's still going to happen with the finger kind of still healing pains. But I totally agree that passes like that are classic Russell Wilson, and we got to see some more of those.
It looks like he's feeling better. I still think he came back too early, but that shows obviously that the finger's still healing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you look at that game compared to the Green Bay game when he first came back, he wasn't able to throw that ball that he threw this week against San Francisco.
Yeah. And oh man, did the Vikings need that win, so I was really happy need that loss by the Niners. Next up, we got another divisional matchup. This one not quite as much as an upset, though. We had the Pats, who went to Buffalo. I was actually talking about a different game. Sorry about that. I was about to say the Broncos at Chiefs, but we'll talk about that later. This game was also not overly interesting, though. We had the Pats went to Buffalo to face the Bills. And what a crazy, crazy game. 14-10. 35-mile-an-hour winds with gusts up to 55, I want to say what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Mac Jones had 3 pass attempts, 2 completions. One of those completions and attempts being a screen pass, too, that was caught before the line of scrimmage, so pretty much a run.
He had one for one in the first quarter, no passes in the second and third, and 1 for 2 in the fourth quarter.
This was just a wild game.
I've never seen a game like that. I take that back. I mean, it's funny because after the game, Bill Belichick wore a Navy midshipman mask, and that's what Navy does. Navy is an all-running offense. So it was almost, I don't know if he did that on purpose. I don't know. Belichick...
He definitely
that guy, man.
There's no way he did it. He definitely
right.
did.
He knows what he was doing. It's admirable just how smart of a coach he is. Now I know earlier today people were saying is this one of the greatest game plans ever? No. I don't think it's one of the greatest coaching game plans ever. However, his ability to recognize the situation is better than anyone I've ever seen. His football situational awareness is just off the charts. Because he just knew how to win that game. That was all he said. He said, I know how to win this game. It's not going to be flashy. It's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be highlights.
But it's going to be a mark in that win column.
But it is going to be a W in that win column. The Patriots won 7 straight after going 2-4. Like I said earlier, are now the number 1 seed. And now the favorite in the AFC to make the Super Bowl. What a difference a month makes.
That's crazy.
Like I said, literally a month ago, we were like, New England's playing for next year. I don't know if Mac Jones the guy.
Exactly.
I think Mac Jones is the guy, though, for New England at least.
I'm kind of on the other side of that coaching argument. I don't think it was that good because the only reason they won that game is poor play by the Bills. I mean, the Bills' defense knew that run was coming and couldn't stop it.
That's true, too. Buffalo allowed them, or enabled them to run that game plan by not forcing points on them.
Exactly. Josh Allen was not able to really get it done. I know it was a lot of wind, but still when you have that high level of an offense. Now, of course, they have very little run game, which showed because when they had to run it, they just couldn't, which forced the pass. Wind affected the pass. So many factors went into that game. But all I'm saying is the Bills should have won that game easily, and they didn't. So you can call it what you like. You can say it was bad coaching, good coaching. But like I just said a little bit ago, either way, it was a W in that win column. And at the end of the day, that's all
just
that
what
matters.
Belichick knows how to do. He just knows how to get that W.
Yep. So next up, we have the Thursday night game of the Cowboys at the Saints. And the Cowboys ended up picking a win. The Saints, to be honest, neither of those teams looked good in that game.
No.
It was a while ago, so I don't remember a ton of factors from it. Neither team really looked like they wanted to win that game. Cowboys just get the win because they were less injured, I guess, at the end of the day. That's
How many
kind of
times
how
do I
it
say it
seemed.
on this show? The Cowboys win games because of talent. And again, talent won out. Because New Orleans has lost a lot of their talent due to injuries. They obviously lost Breeze. Winston goes down early in the season. Kamara's been out. Ingram's been out.
Michael Thomas
has never even started the season. So they're missing a ton of talent on the Saints side. And then when you look at Dallas, they're not. And the Saints still have a chance to win it, which just shows, God, I'm so waiting for McCarthy to get exposed. It's just so annoying how talent bails that team out time after time.
Yeah, there was not much to say about this game, but Cowboys do pick up the win, I guess, is pretty much all they did. They didn't do much past that. Next up, we got the Eagles, who went to New York to take on the Jets, and the only reason we didn't quick kick this one is because Gardner Minshew picks up the start
Minshew mania has begun.
And the win for the Eagles.
I tell you what, if I knew Minshew was playing, I would have picked the goddamn Eagles.
I would have picked him too. We both picked the Jets.
As one negative about recording earlier in the week is because he wasn't announced as a starter until like Friday or Saturday.
Sunday morning, I'm pretty sure.
Sunday morning was it? I knew it was, yeah.
Is when Hurts was
But I
officially
knew it was starting
out.
to leak out like Friday or Saturday night, so.
I feel like they put Jalen back in next week, but I feel like there's definitely arguments to be made. I mean, Minshew didn't. He looked good. Granted, it was against a not very good Jets defense. But the thing with Minshew that Jalen Hurts doesn't have is just the sheer efficiency of passing. 22 for 25 with 242
started out
yards
11
and 2
for
touchdowns.
11.
Started out 11 for 11. That's just something you're not going to get from Jalen Hurts. And when you have a pretty solid overall defense like the Eagle does,
the Eagles
sometimes
got
that's
a
all
lot
you
of offensive talent around them. You know, look at Jacksonville. They're still not doing very good. And they got one of the most talented college quarterbacks that we've seen in years in Trevor Lawrence. And they're having the same record that they had with Minshew. I think Minshew is very talented. I think he was on a bad team last year, and it shows that they're still a pretty bad team down there in Jacksonville. And now he's got a team where there's a lot of young talent. Goddard, Sanders, Boston Scott, not Aguilar, the other Aguilar, Jalen Reagor,
Devontae
Smith, yeah. So, boy, he's finally got some talent around him, and he looked pretty damn good. And he brings excitement. You know, I don't know. He came in with that bomber jacket. I'm like, what? He comes in looking like fucking. Who did he look? He looked like David Arquette. I was like David Arquette, Uncle Rico, you know, Donnie Wahlberg. I don't know. Like, he looks like all these guys. Like, he just seems like he's really fun to play for and play with, and really brings a lot of energy to the table.
Definitely. Keep an eye on that. I am very interested to see what they do next week.
I hope
between
keep
Hurts
playing him.
and Minshew.
He's a lot of fun to watch.
Definitely. Finally, before we get to our quick kicks, we got the football team who went to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders and pick up a win in a last-second field goal in an overall pretty close game.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking a lot about this last week where I said this is one of the biggest true just toss-ups that we've had almost all year. I mean, These were such equally matched teams. It wasn't even, let alone not a divisional game, but not even a conference game.
Yeah.
It was two different conferences. It was so hard to pick this game, and it was a really close game all the way through, too. I mean, I didn't get to watch a ton of this game, but I know Heineke played pretty well. I know Carr continued to play not overly great, but decent enough to keep the game close. And that was evident because it came down to a last-second field goal for the win.
Yeah, Heineke plays so much like Favre. It's almost eerie when I watch him out there, because it's like I have flashbacks. I gotta like check, like, what year is this? What team am I watching? He's got the 4 out there. Just even his stance and the way that he holds that ball out and just gunslings it is reminiscent of Favre's like style, his stance and all that, and throwing motion. And he even plays like him. He throws a pick with less than 10 minutes left with his team down in the red zone. He gets the ball back, drives him down for the game-winning field goal. That was a Favre game if I ever saw one. Like,
it's Favre-delicious.
It was. And it's nice to see a gunslinger quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
They are very entertaining to watch.
Definitely. This is looking a little further ahead, but I'm very curious to see what they do this coming off season. If they finally just let Heineke be the true starter and develop around him, or if they still do the crap where they search for quarterbacks.
If he can get him to the playoffs again, I think they will.
Definitely. So finally, we'll move on to our quick kicks for this week. First up, we have the Colts, who went to Texans. We already talked about that game, didn't we? Did I accidentally start on that game?
No. Did we?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, did we?
I said they went there and dominated, I believe.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, because
just
I said Run DM3 came in and did.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So that was a quick kick. We messed up there. God, I'm struggling this week. So
that one's already done.
Our first actual quick kick is the Bucs going to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, and in pretty obvious fashion won the game. Like I said last week, it was a little closer than I think a lot of people expected. They only won by like 13, I want to say.
Yeah.
Which isn't close by any means, but
Tampa
closer
had
than expected.
They had it in hand the whole time. The only reason it was close is Brady had a pick 6 deep inside Tampa's own side of the field.
Yeah, exactly.
So otherwise it would have been like 31-10.
Yep, so pretty obvious one there.
Yeah.
Moving from obvious to even more obvious, the Cardinals went into Chicago and absolutely destroyed the Bears. They got Kyler back, they got DeAndre back, and it showed because that offense was firing on all cylinders.
Yep, DeAndre caught a big touchdown. He had 2 catches for like 60 yards, 2 big plays. Kyler looked, like he hadn't missed a beat at all. And the Bears are...
The Bears are the Bears.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much about them. The Bears played a good game.
They played decent for their situation, but moving on to the game I almost started talking about earlier. I was struggling with the quick kicks today. The Broncos went to the Chiefs, and pretty overall boring game. Chiefs offense didn't look overly explosive, but the Broncos offense didn't look like they even wanted to be there. Chiefs pick up the win.
And the Chiefs get another steal another win. This has happened to them all season this year, where they have won games they shouldn't have. Teddy had 2 picks, including a pick 6, and both those interceptions were in the red zone. If he doesn't throw those picks, Denver probably wins, especially with that minus that pick 6.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
So again, the Chiefs got bailed out by bad football.
And then finally for this week, we have the Jags, who went to LA to take on the Rams and got pretty well embarrassed.
Yep.
I mean, there was not much to say about this game.
This was the Rams get right game.
I agree.
And they did.
I agree with everything Colin said a little bit ago with Trevor Lawrence and the Jags with having talent or developing talent at quarterback, but no talent around him.
Mm-hmm.
That is just exactly how
and
it
that's
looked.
still how it is in Jacksonville, unfortunately. James Robinson's pretty good, but he's getting beat up now because they're figuring out he's the only other piece of that offense. Hopefully they can get some more pieces down there, and I don't know. Trevor Lawrence deserves, I think, a good shot on a good team. So
I agree.
He's got time left in his career. And otherwise, yeah, the Rams just looked like obviously the better built team. Looked like the team that's Super Bowl ready versus the team that's rebuilding.
Developing.
That's exactly how it looked. So
definitely. Well, that was our NFL Week 13 recap. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, don't forget
to eat the W.